channel. If you're new here, welcome, and if you are returning back, welcome. My name is Elfin Naomi, and I'm so delighted that you could join in. There's a new segment that I have introduced in my Instagram page, and the segment is called Legal Minute, which is wakili, a quick one. We do it every Friday. We are running a segment called Legal Minute Friday, as the name goes. So in this segment, we are going to talk about, or I'm able to answer. Guys give their questions. If you have any legal question that you want to be addressed, if you have any legal matter that you want to be addressed, because of my experience that I have, because I'm an advocate, I was admitted in 2016. You can check me out in the advocate platform, but check me out, my name is there. I have a valid practice certificate. I've been practicing since then. So if you want to check out, you will check me out, and you'll find that it's legit. So whatever advice, whatever issue, question, legal question that you have, you just post it in my page and I'm able to answer. And I'm not just answering on my own as Elfin. Even if I have my colleagues, who are magistrates, advocates practicing, I also reach out to them and ask them the questions. And if they have an opinion, they give me, they inform me, and I'm able now to respond. So it's not a one-man show. I don't just respond on my own, but it's a combined effort. My colleagues have agreed to that, and I'm so grateful to that. Thank you so much for agreeing to support my channel. So that's what is going to happen. So every Friday, watch out for that. You can post your questions and I'll be able to answer. So this episode is about last Friday. We did the Legal Minute Friday. So I want to go through the questions that were asked and also the responses that we got. I wanted it to be a YouTube video so that all of us can be able to, learn, and also maybe these questions cut across so you can learn 1 or 2, 3 things on the same. So let's go back and see the questions that were there. And also, I'm reading Letters to My Son. I have just started. This is the book that I'm reading by Joan Patia. So this is the book that I'm reading. I love her work. She's so talented, and I like that her work is very simple, does not have her stories just flow. I'm a story person, so I love good stories. So this is what I'm reading. These opinions are for persons. These are questions for mainly people living in Kenya. So the responses, because I'm a practicing advocate in Kenya, so my responses are from the Kenyan law and how the Kenyan law operates. The first question is, it's a land question, and when buying land, we are advised to involve a lawyer. Kindly tell us the procedure and payment. First of all, when you are buying land, there are some things that you need to check out before you proceed and purchase your land. One, you need to do due diligence. Due diligence involves you need to conduct a search. Once you have conducted a search at the lands registry, and also you need to conduct once you've done a search, you need to go to the property physically and see the property. Once you have seen the property and you are content, and also you've done the physical maps, there are those index maps that you are supposed to go and do. That's your due diligence. And also, there's a trick that someone told me. I don't know if it works. They told me that for them to buy property, they usually go, and when they are visiting the area, they ask around. They're like, okay, so this property, what do you guys know? The locals will always tell you because they have nothing to lose. So he said you can go and ask the locals. Just go in one of those days. Maybe you're buying property, and maybe you're buying property in Mombasa. You can go where the property is, and maybe just ask the neighbors. Ask, So how is this property? Then they'll tell you the history. Most people, they'll tell you the history. The person who was telling me this is because in Mombasa, guys are known to sell property, yet there is pending succession. You know, if the property is mine and let's say God forbid I die, we need to go into succession process. Then the administrator is supposed to get the authority now to administer the estate. Then they can proceed with subdivision and subsequent sale of the same. So if the man died or the owner died and they have not done succession, most times, especially in Mombasa, guys proceed and sell the property without doing succession. So by the time you get wind of it and you get to know about the succession plan that they have not done it, you are already in the thick of it. So to avoid that, you can take that idea. For me, if I'm buying property, I would say just go with whichever, anything that works for you that will help you get due diligence and understand the property and the history works for you. That was working, so you can. Those are just the options that I think maybe you can check. So the lawyer will assist you with due diligence. They will advise you in the whole process, and also they will assist in the preparation of the documents. Documents, I mean agreements, the transfer, and also just if there be any professional indemnity or anything that will be needed, your advocate is going to be there. Any letters, any correspondences that are going to be sent between the parties, your advocate is going to be there, and your advocate is going to prepare those documents and send. And also any emails or what, your advocate is going to assist. Your advocate means also your lawyer is going to assist you in that. I am an advocate and I'm working for the buyer. The buyer will send the money to the seller's advocate, who will now hold in trust for transfer to the owner, to the one who is selling. So the seller's advocate will hold the money in trust, and then now they'll issue a professional indemnity that we are going to hold this property, this money, pending registration of the title in favor of our client. So they will be at the center. Your advocate is going to be at the center of all these negotiations. So if there's any correspondence, like I said, any correspondences, your advocate is going to cover you, and your advocate is going to have your back. Unless, even if he's working for both of you, you will have that assurance that you have someone who has your back. And also when it comes to the charges are pegged on the purchase price. The purchase price, that's now the price that you are purchasing. On charges, you need stamp duty. So if the property is in a city, it's 4%, but if it's in a rural area, it's 2%. How will you know that? You will know properties are usually gazetted by the Ministry of Lands, and they gazette property and say this is regional, this is rural, and this is urban. So you need back to due diligence. For charges, there is valuation, and also there is capital gain tax. I'm not going to go into capital gain tax because we'll talk about that later. Number 2 that I got was, where do I start with initiating a divorce? What cost is involved? So for this question, I answered it by, first of all, the process of divorce is governed by the Marriage Act 2014, which sets out now the legal framework for filing a divorce. So some of the grounds for divorce are, I'm going to read them out. There's adultery, there's cruelty, there's desertion. Desertion means abandonment and by one spouse for at least 3 years or less. So I'll come back to the 3 years aspect. Irretrievable breakdown of marriage, which is now irreconcilable differences. I think this is common in the US or something like that. Then neglect to provide, especially in civil marriage. Now we have various types of marriages. We have civil, we have Christian, we have Muslim, we have Hindu. Those are the types of marriages that we have in Kenya. And also we have customary. So to answer this question, I told her, or I advised her on the various grounds for divorce. So before filing a divorce, there are certain things that you need to consider. One is you need to know which ground are you relying on. You can use all, because I've seen in divorce petitions, you can use all the grounds, because sometimes in marriage you find there's desertion, there was cruelty, there was adultery, there was so much that was happening in that marriage. So all of them are actually you can use all of them in supporting your divorce petition. Then previously there used to be a cap for 3 years. That is not there anymore. Nowadays, if you get married today, you can even file for divorce a year later. There is no restriction on the same. So there is no that restriction. So you can file your divorce. For a divorce, what you do, you file a divorce petition. When you do a divorce petition, you can do it in the chief magistrate, which is now the subordinate court. You do it in the subordinate court. Long time ago, we would do it in the high court, but I think your best place in the subordinate courts, because at least their matters move, because there are so many subordinate courts, and also it will help you with geographical jurisdiction, and hopefully, and also you need to have documentation. What is documentation? Documentation is evidence. I know in marriages or in relationships, maybe you didn't have or don't have evidence. You can have there's a matter I was doing a while back. They actually annexed WhatsApp messages and WhatsApp messages of how they are communicating. And also you can have witnesses, that's also one thing. You can have witnesses, and in your witnesses now they can come and testify, put in witness statements and testify in court and say there was desertion, there was cruelty. You can attach issues of cruelty, maybe there was domestic violence, attach your P3, attach all those things that you think are needful and will warrant you the divorce. So that's where you start from. So you need to have that in mind. Once you file the divorce petition, of course you need to serve. Once you have filed your petition, you need to serve the other party. When you serve the other party, most of the times I think they never respond, because from my experience, most divorce cases they go undefended. Though there are exceptions. I know people have dealt with those ones that there's a reply and all that, but for me, most of them I saw, the ones I did, there was no defense. So on the costs are dependent on the remuneration order, because now, and also, divorce also brings issues of property. So even when you're filing in the subordinate court, once you have filed the documents and you've put in your evidence and you've put in anything, you have served the other party, they have entered appearance, and they have also filed a response to the same. You proceed for hearing. Once you proceed for hearing, the court listens to both parties, and then after that there is a judgment that is issued. Once the judgment is issued, now that's decree nisi. Then you have to wait for 6 months for it to be a decree absolute. Now a decree absolute, now that means you guys are divorced and you guys are no longer together. Though I saw in the spirit of mediation, there are also cases that divorce matters are taken to mediation. Of course, it depends with what is stated in the remuneration order. Though it might change, because from my experience, because divorce matters are very emotional and very close to the heart, there's so much emotion involving the parties and back and forth. Most advocates, they will charge you a good amount of money. They can charge you around 200 or 250, 100, it depends, because it's an emotionally involving matter, and the type of marriage you are getting into. If it was a Muslim marriage, you go to the Qadi. If it was a Christian, I was answering this question based on the fact that she had said it was a Christian marriage, or a civil marriage. So the procedure they have listed is the one. The procedure I've stated is for the civil or Christian marriage. I want to get child support, but my ex is not employed. Is it possible? Maintenance matters. That's basically, she wants to get maintenance, and also she didn't talk about that, but I think that's what I'll just assume she wants to get maintenance from the ex. So what happens in such matters? There are two ways. One, you can go to FIDA, fill in the form and say I want a mediation, all those stuff. Then FIDA will guide you, FIDA Kenya, will guide you, take you for mediation, give you a mediator who will now mediate the matter between the two parties, and also come up with an agreement, which is now a parental responsibility agreement, which now you will be able to follow. The parties are bound by that. Second option is, once you get the mediation parental responsibility agreement, most of the times, from my experience, people never honor that, because people assume, human beings always want that consequences. What if I don't do it? What happens? So most of the time, people end up in court. So when you end up in court, when the court says there's already a parental responsibility agreement, so there you can do, and people go to court under certificate, because you find in such situation, maybe the child was supposed to go to school, the child has not gone to school, the school fees that is needed, the child has not gone to school, and so you rush to court and certificate of urgency, you do certificate, you then they respond, then the matter proceeds for hearing. That's from the parental PRA to these other matters. Now, if there is no, let's say you're just starting afresh, you get an advocate. Once you get an advocate, they draft for you the documents, you file your documents in court. Now, when you go to court, in the spirit of embracing mediation for the Kenyan law, most times, most children matters, they go to mediation because it's the family aspect that is involved there. So once you go to mediation, you guys agree, there is a PRA that is written, and that PRA is actually extracted as an order of the court. So what does that mean, an order of the court? That means that if there is any breach, or if there is any party does not honor the order of the court, there are consequences to the same. One is civil jail, So those are the consequences now when it comes to not honoring the PRA. Of course, there will be a demand letter, then civil jail, all that. It's a whole process that comes with execution. It's called execution of the judgment. That's a whole process. So that's what happens. So for her case, she's saying that when the person does not have income, it becomes a bit difficult because when you go to court and you file a document, you need to have evidence to support. Though in the spirit of mediation, like I mentioned, when you go to mediation before a mediator will be able to ascertain and see what is the best interest of the child. All these matters, children matters, the court focuses on the best interest of the child. At the end of the day, the child has to go to school, they have to eat, they have to be a child, and all that involves costs. So when you go for mediation, even at FIDA, yes, you say you don't have income, but at the end of the day, the child has to go. So you can come up with an arrangement that maybe between this time, this is what I can raise. I can raise, this is the amount that I can raise, and this is what I'll be giving. So it depends. But most times, if the person does not have income, it becomes a bit difficult. But if there's no source of income, because the guy can come to court and say, I don't have money, I'm jobless, and all that. But if you can get some evidence or some source of income that he is involved in, that would work for you. Our other question, I think this is the second last question. It say, hi wakili, the place I worked for owes me 50k salary and 400k in pension deducted but not submitted advice. So I asked her a question, was she unfairly terminated? Then she responded and said she was not unfairly terminated, she's the one that resigned. So for employment matters, of limitation period, you need to file your matters within 3 years. If you don't do it within 3 years, then the other party can raise a PO, and maybe it depends on the circumstances. Courts have, there are situations where maybe someone was ill or something like that. Maybe it depends now on what is presented before court. I advised her that she needs to get all the evidence that she needs. If there was any deductions that were made, maybe with the payslip or something like that, she needs to get all those documentation so that we can know that this is the money that has been deducted. And also, once we know the pension scheme that the money was being remitted to, we can write to them and tell them, because what I know with pensions, you get a third, you're not allowed to access your money until you are at the age of retirement, which is 60 or something like that. Unless if there are exceptions, though I stand guided. If that's what I would think. So maybe once we get the documentation, we'll be able now to write to them and tell them this employee who works for this company, they used to remit money to you. But then now she also, she said that in pension deduction but not remitted. So I would still need to see the evidence first, because if she was deducted and it was not, how does she know it was not remitted? Maybe so that's what we needed to just get that clear, then we can be able now to proceed if there's any claim. Because of course you can always go to court and say, you can always file an employment claim and say that there was a deduction but there was no remittance. inheritance, then you can get your money against the cash. Someone owes me 100,000, 100k. What should I do? I want my money. So I advise them, one, before you go to meet any advocate, you need to collect all your evidence, which is, was there an M-Pesa transaction that was given, or was there anything that was given? You know, a check or anything. Those are the things. Was there any contract? Was there any agreement? Was there anything? How did you get to lend someone money? There must have been any documentation. That is why I always insist, when you're dealing with money or in any transaction or in any dealings you're getting into, always have documentation. Because when you don't have documentation, it's going to be so hard to prove, because it will be your word against them. But if you have documentation, nowadays there's M-Pesa. Even when you're selling what? I see people sell second-hand things on the internet. Have an agreement. Get an advocate to write. An agreement is around 5,000. Get, or just write for yourself. There's those agreements we used to write, those KNG ones. You say, Elfin is giving me this one, or nevertheless, have an acknowledgement of receipt, which is now a paper that says, I have received this item from this, so that when someone proceeds and says, I have not received the item, I have not, you have evidence. You just produce and say, this is what I have, this is what. So in this case, I chatted them and they said they didn't have anything. So they met, they know this person is their friend, they met, they gave them in cash. There was nothing that was not written, it was verbal. Everything was verbal. It is so hard to prove words. You know, they say talk is cheap, so that's it. It's very, you can't prove it. So there was no, so I told them there's really not much I can do. Unless if there was an M-Pesa transaction, or just keep pursuing them. Though the only remedy we could do, maybe we could write a demand letter and say, you were given this amount of money. I asked him, were there witnesses? They say there were him and the brother. I think the brother passed on or something. So there was no that anything. I advised them we could write for them a demand letter and just see if we could be lucky enough. If he accepts, you know, once he responds and says, I accept this money, I will pay, that is an acceptance. So now you can proceed to court and get and recover the money that is owed. Anyway, so I wanted to say something about lending, debt collection. We call them debt collections in Kenya. So what happens is there's a small claims. There's something called claims court in Kenya. Now, the small claims is governed under the Small Claims Act 2016, which provides for fast, affordable ways to resolve minor disputes. So the minor dispute, the jurisdiction, the monetary jurisdiction for small claims court is 1 million. So that means any debt recovery, this 100k will fall under the 1 million, definitely. So you can get the small claims court. And I think the small claims court, they are supposed to adjudicate 60 days. So within 60 days of filing, the case must be resolved. There has to be a judgment that has been issued, and the case has to be resolved. So you see, within 60 days, you'll be able to sort out this thing. The main agenda of having small claims court, which came now with the Chief Justice Martha Koome, was to assist claimants and also to assist Kenyans access justice. You know, those small matters below 1 million, they were overcrowding and congesting the courts for no good reason. So the small claims now, they can move them within 60 days. They have moved and they have cleared the backlog, the huge backlog that is in court. 100k, they could file a claim in the small claims court. And the small claims court, by the way, you don't even need an advocate. You can just prepare your documents. You can go to court or wherever, prepare or get a clerk to do that for you. You can go prepare. But disclaimer, for me as an advocate, I always insist, get an advocate, because these things that I'm telling you, an advocate has an eye. They'll be able to see, do you have a matter here? How do you proceed with this? So it's always safer to get an advocate. But you know, everyone has that's my opinion, you know. So anyway, so after you have done your claim in court, then you serve, then proceed for hearing, and then you get the judgment. Then you'll be able to execute the judgment and be able So that's how you'll be able to recover your money. The last question. This is, I have different names on birth certificate and ID. It has been hard getting a passport. Now, for Kenyans, the passport, you apply for your passport through the eCitizen portal. So once you've done the eCitizen portal and you have applied for your passport, what you do is you fill it online, you attach all your documents, you go get a photo, and then but now if you have, so I asked them if the names are not the same. Sometimes you find that the name in the birth certificate, it's an error, and you can apply for rectification. Maybe your name is Mwangi, it was spelled like Mwangi with an E, at the end, Mwangi. So that is a small error. You can go get it rectified, and then you can proceed with the passport registration. But if it is a huge, like a whole name that was omitted or what, you can do a deed poll. Then you renounce those names that are in your birth certificate. Then you continue with these other names that you have. Then you go now for the birth certificate and register new. Now those are your names. Now that's how you will be known for. So those are the procedures that are needed. I asked someone from the passport. My experience with the passport immigration guys is that they always assume that the birth certificate is the first document that you're given. So they will 100% guarantee you they will go with the names of the birth certificate. The birth certificate is one of those documents that is so hard to amend in Kenya because they assume that's the first document that you got. The ID and these other school, those are easy names. So decide if you want to go with the names of the birth certificate. The deed poll, they'll be very easy for you to renounce these other names and then focus on those names. So most likely you'll be able to, your passport will have the names in your birth certificate. So that's it. Anyway, that's it guys for our Legal Minute episode 1. Those are the questions that I got. I was so happy and I was so happy and amazed because I didn't expect to get those kind of questions. So like I said, we'll be doing this every Friday. My Instagram page, follow, and you'll be able to benefit from this. That's it guys. To like, share, comment and subscribe. I love you guys. Mwah.